The point there is that not in every piece of content you need to have conversation. What they did really well was they uploaded a supplementary piece of content off the back of the success and the amazing feedback they got on that piece of content, which said thank you for all the amazing support. And in this video, as you can see, the actor is speaking directly to the camera. They're capitalizing on the loyalty that comes from that face-to-camera conversation. So when you're thinking about scripted content, that's fine, that's great. That content can do very well on YouTube, but you might also like to then think about what other supplementary content can I use that is more social than the original to build that relationship and that subscriber base. And again, just a reminder, not all of these are relevant for everyone, so again, you may or may not choose to use conversation. Interactivity, number 3. Is there a way to involve the audience with this idea? So this one is often confused with conversation, but it's distinct. This is more about incorporating the audience's ideas in the DNA of the actual video, taking a suggestion from the audience and actually weaving the narrative of the video based on that. So simple examples are things like using comments and shouting them out on screen to give the audience a bit of a buzz and a sense of ownership. And you go all the way through to, for example, how epic rap battles use it, which I'll show you an example in a moment. And they base all of their videos based on audience suggestions. And the benefit of doing this is not dissimilar to conversation. It's that it gives the audience a sense of ownership over the content, and they come on that journey with you, and you build that stronger peer-to-peer relationship and the loyalty with the audience. So is there a way to improve interactivity? So did you guys notice in the end they asked who won, who's next, you decide? They also showed comments on the screen from their audience. I think that's an absolutely amazing way to integrate the audience into the show and build that loyalty. These guys, from last check, I think they're over around 13 million subscribers. If they get 10 million views on a video, it's a bad video. It's just absolutely incredible. Obviously, the main contributor to that is that it's very entertaining and sticky content, but the interactivity certainly adds an element of encouraging the audience to come back again and again. And it's not that one single individual gets to decide the next video and everyone else who suggested and made suggestions is not showcased. They actually showcase, obviously, comments on the screen and widen the pool of individuals that are brought into their circle by doing that. So take what inspiration from that you can. Consistency. Are there strong recurring elements to this idea? I would argue that this is the single most important of the fundamentals. This is, in my experience at least, the one that I think, the common thread that cuts across most top creators on YouTube. I think consistency can be thought of in different ways. One of the most obvious and powerful ways is a consistent upload schedule. I think TV's known this for a while. You're able to tap into the rhythm of people's lives by advertising what time your videos are to go up, and by sticking to that schedule, every second Wednesday, for example, every Thursday, once a month on this day. So I think the risk of not being consistent is that you lose share of mind of those subscribers. That they're subscribed to 30, 40 people a lot of the time, and what shows up in their feed on YouTube will often be a reflection of what they've viewed more recently. So both from an algorithmic but also a share of mind perspective, it makes a lot of sense for you to be consistent. So it makes a lot of sense to work backwards. Think about what do the next 6 months look like, what are your hero moments, but also what is the shoulder content that you can use to keep touch with your fans and to remind them that you're there and to potentially promote new content. So consistent schedule is certainly one powerful way, one important way rather, to be consistent, but there are other ways to be consistent, and the more of these you can include, typically the better. Vice, you guys know Vice? You've heard of Vice? Yeah, cool. Started out as a magazine, now a really popular YouTube channel. These guys are pretty regular with their uploads now, but to begin with, they actually had a lot of success in spite of not being particularly consistent with their uploads, in spite of not having the same personality on camera. And what I think that they did really well was they have this really consistent tone of voice. When you're seeing something from Vice, it's gritty, it's exposing the underbelly of something, it's telling a very hard truth, and that common thread runs through all of their pieces of content. And so People like the familiar. People, that's why they order the Big Mac. They know what they're getting. They go back every time. People love the familiar. So, additionally, is there a consistent voice that runs through your content? Here's a few examples of different, obviously a variety of topics, but again, it's very gritty and exposing the underbelly of stuff. Other ways that you can be consistent, we've spoken about tone and schedule. Personality. Obviously Vice doesn't do that, but some of the largest YouTubers in the world are vloggers, right? And you don't need to be a vlogger to be popular, but they are popular in part because they build a social relationship with their audience, so it doesn't matter what they put out. Their audience comes back to check in on them and just to see how they're doing. It helps that they produce good content or increasingly better content. And then format is another one that you can use. Anyone know the Fine Brothers? Couple people, yeah, they had, or they still have, I believe, a very popular series called React Series, where they get folks to react to popular videos and just record their reaction. And that series in itself became incredibly popular. A couple of local creators, Raka, who I think are actually making some content in Byron this week, and they have a versus series where they take two very popular pop cultural icons like Batman and Superman, they verse them and they just explode their guts out. And it's funny, it's special effects, but the audience knows within reason what they're going to get when they click on that thumbnail because they come to know what the format represents, what kind of entertainment it's going to bring them. So think of each of these 4 different types and include the ones that make sense for your content. All right, halfway there, number 5. Is there a clearly defined audience? So I think when a lot of people start out with YouTube, with social media, or generally trying to attract eyeballs, they think, obviously, I want to attract the broadest audience possible. I want to attract the most people possible to build my brand. What we've often seen works more effectively is to be more specific and targeted with who you want to reach and be really specific and narrow about it. People that are passionate about who they are and what they do. It could be male antique toy collectors or female, train enthusiasts, whatever it is. It's about being really clear and precise about who exactly they are. As an example, any guesses as to why, when we think about targeting, any guesses as to why this particular video is so popular?
It speaks to a really specific audience.
Exactly right, yeah. Well said. It taps into the shared experience of a specific target audience. Yeah, exactly right. It's absolutely a niche audience. And so, obviously they thought through who their audience is and making it very relatable for that audience. And I dare say that video would have been shared a great deal as a result of it being very relatable. You should also think about shows being targeted on both a show and a channel level as well. As you're thinking about your channel, an exercise to go through is who is my target audience, what is their demographic, and being precise in that way.